Hi, good morning, LinkedIn family. It's my first LinkedIn Live Coffee with Bob. And we seem to have maybe a connection issue with Rachel because I'm not seeing her as I should. Can you see yourself, Rachel? Do you look okay?
Yeah, I like from what I see, it looks okay.
Okay, well, I'm just going to assume it's okay, and
I'm sure
hopefully,
they'll pipe in and tell us if it's okay or not.
yeah, someone will let us know at some point. I hope.
We'll try our best. That's all we can do.
Yeah, that's all we could do. So this is my first LinkedIn Live Coffee with Bob. Um, Obviously, about my background, you can see I haven't gotten my green screen going yet. Parts that I ordered were on back order, so I'm hoping they come today, or at least for the next Coffee with Bob. Then we'll get going. Let me know if you hear any background noise that you shouldn't hear. I'm new to this, so I'm just diving in on the deep end. And to be bluntly honest, Rachel and I were going to practice this beforehand today at this time, and I said, the heck with it. Let's just go live and see what happens. And she graciously accepted. So thank you, Rachel. I appreciate it.
You are welcome. Anything for you.
Thank you. Rachel is Rachel and I have been connected for a little while, right? But we've really been engaging these last past year or so.
I feel like it's been a year.
Yeah, something like that. And then we started doing, she was one of my original Coffee with Bob interviews. And I just got my son-in-law, Mike Arrojo, just said both audio and video are working okay for the
thank you.
two of us. Thank you, Mike. So Mike, if you look up in the upper right-hand corner, Mike designed the Coffee with Bob logo. He also designed that opening for me. And once I get my green screen in, you're going to see what else he did. So he's a fantastic person to have. Excellent photographer, great graphic artist. So we should use him. In fact, I should make sure you, Rachel, you and he hook up.
Yeah, I would love to meet your son. It's your son-in-law, right? Or son?
My son-in-law, yeah.
Yeah, I would love to meet him, especially being a retired photographer.
Yeah, he's from Brazil. He's in the process of getting his citizenship. He's just an amazing kid.
Well, I'm excited to meet him.
Cool. So anyway, so back to my story. Rachel and I have been engaging quite a bit for a while, and I really love her posts. If you're not connected to Rachel, if you're not following Rachel, I highly recommend it. I can't think of a more positive person on LinkedIn these days than Rachel, and her interviews are just fantastic. So Rachel, thank you for being a connection. I really, really love it.
Oh, thank you for your kind words, Bob. I really appreciate them.
So we were talking and going back and forth saying, what are we going to talk about for our first live? And one of the things that I've been noticing lately, in Rachel being a superwoman as she is, has probably noticed much more than I have, is this constant barrage of people thinking that LinkedIn is a dating app.
Yeah, yes.
Or thinking that they can make comments about a person, right, on LinkedIn or through direct messages, right?
Yeah, it's a huge problem. For me, Bob, honestly, the first impression I get is somebody matters to me. So somebody jumps in, they start following, and they write me a comment that's beyond inappropriate. I'm done. You know what I mean? Like, respect for me is something that is earned, and it goes two ways.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody doesn't represent themselves in a professional manner, why would I refer them? Why would I connect them with who they need to be connected with? It comes down to they can choose their words and their actions, and I get to choose my response and how I handle it.
Perfect. And it's so true. I don't get on any social media. Well, unless you're on one of the dating apps. I don't even know what the dating apps are these days. I mean, for back in my day, we didn't have those. Our dating app was, a college party at a dorm, right? We didn't have that kind of stuff. So I don't even get why people think that a professional networking site like LinkedIn, or let's even talk about Facebook or Twitter or any of the other social apps that are out there, it's appropriate to treat a woman that way, right? I don't get where that's coming from, especially on LinkedIn, right? Because we're all on LinkedIn to do one of several things, but more importantly, we're looking to network so that we can learn, so that we can get ahead, so that we can engage with potential clients, we can engage with potential vendors, we can be of help and of service to other people. When you look at that list, there is no room for the type of outreach that most women are getting on LinkedIn today.
Yeah, and in all honesty, Bob, it comes down to one, how do you want to be seen? What do you want your image to be? Are you putting your best foot forward? Because the sad thing is people will it's getting less, but I've had major issues with it. If you're insulting a content creator, which is never ever ever okay, as you know, I have no motivation to help you at all.
Yeah.
It comes down to being a kind, respectful, professional person.
Yeah.
That's the key. You and I both know it. That's the key to people's successes. That's how you and I will open doors for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it comes down to. Bob, I always remember the way I'm treated. It's never going to change.
Yeah, and I as well. I mean, my mission on LinkedIn, or I feel like my mission is on LinkedIn, is to help other people connect. Right? It's to expand their networks, expand their connections. It's to feature the individuals that either are entrepreneurs or they're trying to get a message out there, or they have a cause that they're trying to get out there. That's why I do these Coffee with Bobs. It's nothing for me. I'm not looking for any accolades. I'm not looking for clients. I mean, I'm employed. That's not my job. My job is to help people like you, Rachel, who have missions, get that awareness out there, get their message out there. And that's why I like to be as positive as possible. My post this morning was about being It's Thankful Thursday, right? Show gratitude. Today, I'm especially gratitude for my son-in-law. I'm grateful for my son-in-law, Mike, who gave me these great graphics that I can use. I'm very grateful for Rachel for being the first guinea pig on my Coffee with Bob live show. And I'm grateful for all my connections. All honestly, it's only because LinkedIn limits you to 200 tags per day. If you go over that 200 tag limit, then you get put in LinkedIn jail. I probably tag every one of my connections because I'm very grateful that they've chosen to be connected with me. Right?
Yeah, and Bob, it is an attitude of gratitude will make people skyrocket on this platform. The attitude, and I'm glad you're talking about this, an attitude of entitlement, and they're going to go the completely opposite way.
Right.
And I see it all the time. I mean, I see entitled behavior all the time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But the true key to it is, are you grateful? Are you grateful? I'm extremely grateful for my network. I love my network so much. They are huge. They are in my heart, and I carry them with me. And there's not a day that goes by that I'm not grateful for them. They don't need, they're there supporting me, and they matter to me. So I'm trying to lift them up, give them strength, inspire them. And we know, you and I are very clear that now is a very hard time for people.
Yeah.
It's an extremely hard time.
Yeah. Yeah. Between the pandemic and now we're in an election cycle. It just impacts people in so many different ways, right? I mean, whether you're on the right, you're on the left, you're in the center, you're below, you're above. it doesn't matter to me. It's hard not to have the negativity that's flowing around not have an impact on you, right? I mean, alcohol sales are skyrocketing during the pandemic. Cases of depression are skyrocketing during the pandemic, right? Alcoholism, drug use skyrocketing during the pandemic. And people can only be shut in for so long. That's why I love doing these, the coffee talks, because that actually you have contact with people in some way, shape, or form. I used to be a big fan of in-person networking events. Obviously, we can't do it. So these types of interaction, I think, go a long way. And I think your message of positivity that you put out there more than a few times a day, I think can really help. And that's why I think people should follow. But in these negative times, I think that's stuff that we really need to hold on to, and we need to practice.
Yeah, and it's something that someone said. It was a really interesting question. Will you ever stop talking about kindness and respect? And I said no, because until it becomes a standard, like not just on this platform, but in the world, then the conversation still needs to happen. And people think that stuff like this doesn't affect me, and they're very wrong. I'm fighting right now for racial injustice in this country. I'm fighting for social issues in this country. I'm fighting for more mental health awareness in this country. So it's not like content creators are separate from the issues that are affecting the US. Some of them affect me on a deeply personal level.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. And I think it's up to us as content creators, or as, if some people call them influencers, whatever the case is, we need to be talking about this stuff. I mean, I am constantly talking about being grateful. I'm constantly talking about being thankful. I'm constantly talking, my tagline up here, it only takes one connection to change a life. I really do believe that. And I think we need to make those connections. And my fear is during this pandemic and during these very politically charged times, we're starting to lose those connections, right? Our beliefs, our views, political or not, are starting to help us isolate even further. And I think one of the things that we all have to be aware of is that we can have different opinions, we can have different views, but that doesn't change what's in our hearts, and that doesn't change our need for connections together.
And it comes down to respect. Look, it comes down to respect. You and I can have a civil discussion on politics, on religion, on different things, and share our views without either bombarding us with them, pushing them down on us. It just comes down to respect. I listen to people's views. I might not agree with them, but I will respect that they have the right to feel that they want to feel.
Yeah.
We don't have to agree. We're never going to agree on anything. It's absolutely never going to happen.
Right. Ken Smither just brought up a really good point. Mental health is often ignored in the corporate environment. It's either toughen up or get out approach, which is very true. That's the very old school approach with most organizations. I'm at least I'm hopeful, because there are people like us that are really out there on LinkedIn and really touting the kindness factor and how to carry that into the corporate world. I think that's starting to shift a little bit, but depending on where you're at, it may not be shifting. It may be too far ingrained into the corporate culture. And I really do think kindness is so important. It has to start not only within the family itself, but it needs to transfer to the corporate world, right? We as leaders need to be practicing kindness with the team members that we work with at all times. And that's the way I act, at least in my office with my team.
It also comes down to training, right? So I'm a huge advocate for mental health because I have PTSD. So I'm choosing to use my voice and to talk about it and to say to end that stigma. And Bob, this is not easy. I work on it a lot.
Yeah.
Work on it a lot. So, and it's very different because I had to transform for going out, because I give talks on it. I speak, and then those groups go out. They take the training back. And I'm not in the mental health field, but I will use my voice when it comes around this because of what is going on and the need for people to be empathetic, sympathetic, and to understand that they might not necessarily know a content creator's story.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's critical, because so many people suffer in silence, right? So many people put up with it because they feel like they need to have that job, or they have to allow that to happen. And I'm here to say that you don't, right? At some point, you need to speak up, right? You talk to your HR department, right? Talk to your senior leader who may be not that way, have that conversation. It may be uncomfortable, right? But if you don't have the conversation and don't bring it to light, you never know. I mean, I worked with a manager back in my early days, prior to me getting into leadership. That was the guy that, do this, do as I say, don't do as I do kind of approach, right? And if you didn't meet these deadlines, you didn't meet these goals, you got written up or you were fired. and I left. So the reason and I remember at the exit interview, the reason I left, I said, I can't work in a culture like this because it goes against what I feel. It goes against what I do. And I can't thrive in a culture like that. And I didn't have anything else lined up at the time. I was young. It doesn't matter. I didn't have anything lined up at the time, but I found something very quickly after that, because if you put out those good vibes, right, you have that, goodness in you, it comes back to you. I really do believe that.
Oh, Bob, I completely believe in karma, 100%. I always treat people like the way I want to be treated. That is so, so important.
That's a great point.
And here's 2 tips for LinkedIn. You ready? So easy. Don't assume you know everybody's story. Right. Don't assume that you don't know what's going on in their life right now. And this is exactly why I plead for people to be empathetic. I know what's going on in some people's lives because they tell me. And all I can say to you is, like, the more empathetic human beings are right now, the more they will be remembered in a positive way. And that comes down to, like, CEOs setting that whole tone in the company, the leaders setting that whole tone in the company. The stories I've heard during this pandemic from some of my friends and what's going on with their companies and the things that they've been through, it's like inexcusable the way some of my friends are getting treated right now. It's really, really, truly tragic and sad.
Yeah, it is. And a part of me says part of that's the pressure, right, of trying to keep a company afloat, trying to keep people employed, not furlough them, make the bills and stuff like that. But then the other part of it, I see that as a weakness too, right? You should be able to steel yourself against reacting that way, right? And reacting in a more positive fashion to keep driving things forward, because the people you lead will react to that as well. You set the example, right? If you set the example that you're underwater and you're fighting, the pressure and all that stuff, they're going to feel that same way, and they're going to follow that lead. But if you set the example that, you're taking a positive approach, you're working hard to drive forward, and you appreciate the efforts that they're giving you, they'll respect that and work even harder.
Yeah, and it comes down to this, and I'm curious to see what you think. So I believe in order to be called a leader, you better earn that title. It's not something, in those little, placards that say your name.
Yeah.
Real leaders stay with their employees. They stay with their teams during the hard times. That's, to me, is when a true leader rises. It's not when everything's wonderful and beautiful and magical. It's, oh my gosh, the whole world is falling apart right now. Everything's going on. And then that person runs away.
Right.
Well, if you have that title, in my opinion, you better earn it.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree.
To earn it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, you have to be more than just the title. Right.
Yes.
So that's awesome. This is why I love talking to you, Rachel, because you have such great views on it.
I love our conversations, Bob. I love coffee, Bob.
Yeah, we do have good conversations. I think for future Coffee with Bob's, Rachel's going to co-host, right?
Yes, and I'm so excited and honored that you asked me to do that with you.
Yeah. Not on all of them. I mean, obviously, because scheduling and stuff like that. And we're going to try and trade back and forth our connections so that we can feature them for whatever reason that we're doing at that time. But if you notice the scroll that's going across the bottom of the screen, if you want to have a coffee with me or with both Rachel and I, message me on LinkedIn, and we'll see what we can do to get that arranged. I'm going to try and do a live session maybe twice a week. I don't want to do it too much because I'm afraid it might kill it. What do you think, Rach?
I say go for it. Bob, literally, you have nothing to lose right now. You're an incredible professional. You're a wonderful conversationalist. Like, you and I are both like, what you see is what you get. Like, this is it. Like, this is who we are. So I think that your conversations are phenomenal. I think you're working very hard to lift people up in the middle of this pandemic, and it's something that I deeply respect about you.
No, thank you.
Yeah. It takes courage, and remember that, Bob. It takes courage to do it.
It does. Yeah, I got my live account from LinkedIn last week, And it took me a week to actually say, I'm going to do this. And like I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the broadcast, this time was supposed to be held for Rachel and I to practice it. And I thought, if I'm practicing it, I'll keep practicing it. So we might as well just make it happen. And do I have everything that I want to make it happen at this point? No, I'm still waiting for parts and stuff like that. But still, I think this went very well.
And Bob, here's the thing. This is a really important message for people to hear. Nothing is going to be perfect. Nothing's going to be the way we think it's going to be. So like, I never have expectations of people or things and however it's going to be, it's going to be. And I just go with the flow. I mean, you can tell the behind the scenes of some of my videos, you would laugh really hard, Frank. You would laugh very, very hard.
Well, so yeah. And I had one connection that I'm arranging one of my 10-minute interviews with Coffee About with, and he's like, how many takes we're going to have to make? And I said, I do one. That's it. I try to make it as organic and as real as possible. And if we stumble, or if we make mistakes, well, that's part of life, right?
Yeah.
We have to work through it.
Humans. We're human beings. And sometimes I think that there's and I think you understand this, there's a very big disconnect from people seeing that in social media, that we are human beings. We do the best job that we can every day. And that people need to remember that.
Yeah.
We're going to flaw. I'm not perfect. I'm fully in touch with all my flaws. I really am. I'm honest about it.
Yeah.
So the more you did a great job, it didn't have, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's who you are as a human being.
Yeah.
That's what makes you so special.
Yeah. And that's what makes that is what makes you special as well, Rachel. And I think that's why we get along so well. So I want to thank you again for doing this with me and being the inaugural live with Coffee with Bob. It was great. And I'll be posting the rebroadcast as soon as I can, I think, or maybe later this afternoon. To be honest, I'm not sure how I do that, because I know LinkedIn limits you to 10 minutes, but if it's a rebroadcast of a live, I think it's going to be fine. So we'll see.
Oh, and thank you for having me. And,
and
even that was really, so this is like, because Bob and I have the friendship we have, I got like a little warm. It's like, Rachel going live. And I was like, okay, Bob. I was like, let's do it, because that's really like our friendship. Because I was like, you know what? This is for Bob. I'm going to do everything.
Well, and then she sent me a text saying, are we going live? ? And I said, replied back, yes, surprise.
Yeah. Okay. Hey. But you know what? Here's the thing. We did it.
Yep, we did it. We did it. Well, so thank you very much. And thank you, LinkedIn family, for joining us and watching this. I really appreciate the support. And again, if you want to be involved and be on a Coffee with Bob, please message me, comment in the post below, and let me know. And I'm happy to reach out and do it. And I'm happy to work with all time zones. We can figure that out. I've got a lot of friends that are overseas that are in different time zones. It's okay. I don't sleep very much anyway. We'll work it out. I think it's more important that we get exposure for you all and get your messages out there, because there's so many great messages out there. So thank you guys all again. Thanks again, Rachel.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.